Hey guys, I'm Bryson here, and today I'm going to break down 3 reasons why you actually do not need a credit score whatsoever. But I want to be 100% transparent here. If you guys are new to my channel, I talk about credit a lot, and my credit score right now is a 758, meaning I have a pretty good credit score, meaning I take my credit score very seriously. But it does not mean I have a massive amount of credit card debt, because in reality, I don't really have any whatsoever. So in this video right here, I wanted to play devil's advocate and find out exactly why do people think that having a credit score is not important. Not to judge them, but to find exactly, can you buy a house? Can you buy a car? Can you rent an apartment? Can you get a job? Can you get a good insurance rate? Can you get everything you actually need without actually having a credit score? And that's what I'm going to break down in this video right here. And if you're new here, guys, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you're notified when I post a new video every single day. And on top of that, also destroy the like button. Now, the first thing is this, guys, okay? 9 out of 10 times when you watch, for example, a financial channel here on YouTube, they're going to tell you credit is very important. And I'm actually one of those that actually think that's also. But the one thing we don't really tell you is, hey, credit is very important, and the only way to get a good credit score is by going out there and getting into massive debt. That's not what I say, and most of the people I know on YouTube don't say that either. The whole goal is, hey, get a credit card, put your payments on it, pay it off in full every single month. That way you build your credit score, but you don't get into any massive debts, and you also don't pay any interest. That's the core idea when I talk about finances, when I talk about credit, and when I talk about anything whatsoever regarding to money. Now, the first reason why you don't need a credit score is basically you can actually go out there and buy a house and buy a car without actually having a credit score whatsoever. Now, you might be thinking, Tommy, how is that possible? Everyone tells me I need to have a solid credit score to actually go out there and buy a house. Well, the most important thing is basically, if you don't have a credit score, that's not really cool, but it's actually fine. The bad thing is that basically, if you do have a credit score, but it's bad, it's going to make everything a lot more harder. So for example, when you actually want to buy a house and you don't actually have a credit score, in reality, they're going to look at 3 things, okay? How much money are you actually going to put down? What is your job record? How long have you had it for? And how much do you actually get paid? And thirdly, can we actually see any payment record that you've actually done in the past correctly? For example, your rent payment, your light bill, internet bill, whatever bills you usually pay, they're going to use that to actually understand exactly if you're going to be able to actually afford a house. Now, it's not going to be like the normal way. You go into a bank, hey, you qualify based on your credit score, your income, your tax returns, everything is fine. In reality, you're going to need a manual underwriting to actually be done on your entire profile to understand exactly what your financial profile actually is. So if you don't want to get a credit score because you're afraid of debt, the way to do it is to go out there and find a mortgage company that does manual underwriting that's going to qualify you based on your income, based on your bill payments, and on top of that also, how much money are you going to put down as a down payment? And usually it's going to be higher than everyone else does have a decent credit score. Now, when you actually go ahead and think about buying a car without a credit score, the answer is you're going to have to need cold, hard cash. Not this cash, is fake cash obviously, but you're going to need to have cold hard cash to actually go out there and buy a brand new car if you actually want one. And that's the entire idea if you don't have a credit score. But if you do have a credit score, you can get a car easily and finance it over 5 years and pay it off in full, and then boom, you're good to go and you get access to the car you actually want. But overall, the more research I actually did about this stuff, guys, it basically looks like the reason people don't actually want a credit score is because basically they want to make sure the car they actually buy, they can actually afford it in cash, and they also want to make sure the house they actually buy, they can actually qualify for it and not go into massive debt. That is the overall idea to why you actually don't want to have a credit score. But in reality, it's kind of like not the best idea, and here's why, because basically, if you understand finances and you know for a fact that, hey, I don't want to go ahead and spend $35K in cash for a car, that is still a stupid idea no matter how you actually slice it, with a credit score, without a credit score, paying for a new car is a dumb idea no matter how you do it. So the answer is you might want to pay, for example, in cash for a used car, or you might want to finance a used car that's decent and it's also going to last you a very long time. But having a credit score is going to give you access to things that you usually wouldn't have access to. And in some places that's actually bad because you get into massive debts, but in some cases it's actually good. It gives you the ability to actually buy something that you actually need, can actually make money off, and basically not have to worry about like, hey, I don't really have all the cash right now. And honestly guys, what a credit score really does is basically it just makes things a lot more easier for lenders to actually qualify you for things. And it also makes things a lot more easier for them to qualify you to lend you a lot more money on something you can't really afford, because basically it shows in your payment history, hey, this guy makes all his payments on time. He's probably not going to default, so let's just lend him a ton of money. Okay, that's the overall answer here. But overall, if you're afraid of getting into massive debt, well, avoiding credit is probably not the best idea. The best idea is get a few credit cards. Get 1, get 3, do whatever you want to do. But the answer is just put your normal bills you have every single month on them and put it on auto pay. And if you even want to go even further, this way, by the way, you'll build your credit score step by step. But if you want to go even further and you're still afraid, just grab the credit card when you get it and cut it in half, then cut it like this, then cut it like this, and then boom, you're done with it, okay? Because basically, everything is being done automatically for you, but you're not at risk of actually going out there and spending money on your credit card that you can't really afford. But this way, you get to build your credit score without worrying about getting into massive debt by overspending. And now, the second reason why you actually don't need a credit score is basically because at the end of the day, guys, okay, cash is king. That's the idea, right? That's what everyone says in all the movies, so I guess cash is king. In reality, it's kind of not, okay? And I'll break it down right now. But the first thing is, here are the pros of actually having, for example, mindsets, hey, I don't need a credit score, cash is king at the end of the day. And the answer is, you know what? When you don't have a credit score, you don't have access to a very large credit line, and you can't overspend the actual cash that you actually have. For example, right here, I actually have around $30,000 in fake money. But right here, I can actually have around a $100,000 credit line, and it's very easy to just spend it. I go swipe, and boom, I spent the money. Now I'm in massive debt. So by having the mindset that, hey, cash is king, you can only spend exactly what you have, and you'll never go into any massive debt. That's the entire idea. However, although cash is pretty cool, it can also be very limited. Because basically, this is all the cash you have, so it's also going to prevent you from actually going out there and pursuing other opportunities, because basically, your resources, your opportunities, and where you can actually go are limited by the amount of cash you actually have on hand at that moment right there. So usually, if you want to go ahead and buy something that's actually more expensive, but actually makes financial sense for you, well, in reality, you might have to wait a little bit longer. Some cases that's good, but some people like me, I preserve my time and I like to save time. So in reality, if I can borrow the money very cheaply, in a sense for like a mortgage for a property that's going to pay itself off, then I'd rather go out there and borrow the money. So although having the mindset that, hey, cash is king can be very positive, it can also be very limiting for actually going out there and using a credit card for the correct reasons, and also borrowing money for the correct reasons also. And on top of that, guys, here is a story you probably don't know about me, okay? And here's what I mean, okay? When I was in college, I actually borrowed around $3,000 to actually go ahead and buy a brand new MacBook. And you might say, Tommy, that was very stupid, but in reality, it was very stupid, but it also gave me an opportunity to actually go out there and create a ton of YouTube content on that one computer right there. So on top of that, you might say, Tommy, well, it means you actually paid a ton of money in interest, but in reality, I got a credit card that gave me 24 months to pay it off interest free. It meant that, yes, I overspent on that computer, but it also gave me access to actually make more income. Now, by the time I was done paying that computer off, basically, that computer paid itself off. So the answer is that in some cases, credit can actually be used to buy things you can't afford at the moment, but are actually going to make you money. And in some higher scale, think about it like this, okay? What about student loan debt, okay? You don't have the cash is king principle, because in reality, if you think about it, what doctor that's 18 years old is going to be able to afford a $200,000 to $500,000 education? The answer is almost none of them. So the answer is sometimes going into debt if it makes financial sense, it's not a bad idea. Buying a house, for example, that's not paid in full in cash, okay, is not a bad idea if you can actually afford it with your income. Going for school and actually getting to student loan debt for a career that's going to pay off the student loan debt in 1 to 2 years is not a bad idea. So having the limited mindset that basically, oh, cash is king, I can only do things as long as I have it in my bank account, the answer is no. You actually don't need to do that. So overall, guys, okay, although you don't need a credit score to buy a house, to buy a car, to rent an apartment, to basically go out there and actually get, for example, student loan debts, you don't really need a credit score for a lot of things, but what it does do is makes things a lot more easier and actually makes you be able to qualify for things a lot more simply also. Now, like with everything in life, you have the pros and you have the cons. The pro is you can actually qualify for things a lot more easier. It makes things simple. It gives you more opportunities. All that stuff is great if you use it correctly. But the con is that basically, if you don't know what to do with it, well, you can actually go into massive debt, buy things you cannot afford, be stuck with them, and eventually maybe even go bankrupt. And worst of all, ruin your credit score. And guess what? Having no credit score is better than having a bad credit score 10 times out of 10. And I think the answer that, hey, you know what, Tommy, you don't need a credit score is basically saying like, hey, I know the pros are pretty cool, but I think the cons are so overwhelming that basically I just rather stay away from it as a whole and just do my own thing. Now, for some people out there, that might be a good idea. Debt is not for everyone. But for example, if you can actually educate yourself on it, understand it, and manage it correctly, well, in reality, debt is not going to be a bad idea. I think that without debt, for example, my student loan debt, my credit card debt that I paid off in full and I never paid any interest on it, the answer is it gave me the ability to actually earn a lot more money a lot faster than I actually would have, okay? But the answer is, if I did it incorrectly, I could have also crippled myself and actually go into massive debt that I could have never ever paid. And I think that idea is very scary. But as long as you know exactly what you're doing, you'll be just fine. But again, you have to understand exactly the game you're playing. So overall, just to repeat this one more time, if you are afraid of debt, but you do want to build your credit score to make everything a lot more simple, get 1 to 2 credit cards, okay? And basically, put, for example, your automated bills on it, your light bill, your cable bill, your internet bill, your phone bill, your Netflix bill, Spotify bill, your gym bill, like all those bills, spread them around in those 3 credit cards, have them pay themselves off in full every single month, and then grab the credit cards and cut them in half. And by the end of the year, you'll have a solid credit score and you'll have no debt whatsoever. And guess what? When you pay your bills with a credit card that basically gives you cash back or, for example, points, guess what? It might not make you rich on that cash back or points, but in reality, it can actually help you go on vacation once a year for free. And to me, free money is always good money, if you ask me, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's about it, guys, for this video. But comment down below and let me know if you came to this video saying, hey, you don't need a credit score. Did I change your mind? And if you think that, hey, Tommy, credit score is very important, did this help you in some way understand that, hey, you might think that, but in reality, you actually don't really need a credit score that bad. And the people that actually make the most money from having a good credit score is probably lenders, because then it can actually qualify you for things you probably can't afford. But comment down below and let me know, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and as always, like this video if you liked it. Also, if you're new here, subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified when I post a new video, and also follow me on Instagram Bryson. And before I go, if you want to watch another video, basically, on how I actually built up my credit score to a 758, watch this video right here. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. And as always, peace.